To approve.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Presentations, Operations and Maintenance Monthly Metrics Report for August and September 2023. Mr. Bobby Edwards, Director of Transportation, Mr. Nicholas Goulburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance, and Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer. And I will lead with you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you for joining.
All right, thank you, Chair. Good morning, board members, Mr. Drainville. Let's get started. I'm sure that all of you had an opportunity to see the article that the streetcar had its record-breaking ridership for fiscal year '23. So that was at 1.3 million. I know Brian Allen and Chester instrumental in that. So I just wanted to bring that part up. If we take a look at the riderships by mode for September, we see that the fixed route buses was at 939,000 riders. Streetcar was at 90,000. ADA paratransit was at 17,000. And then we also had our contractor, Yellow Cab, at 12,694, giving us 1,060,000 riders for the month of September. Also, as you see on this graph for the fixed route bus, for August, we were at 926,000 riders compared to September at 939,000 riders, and that's for the fixed route bus. Looking at our average daily ridership, looking at those top 5 routes, the Route 6, the Route 1, 34, 400, 12, and 39 for August and September, we're showing that those routes are still carrying the majority of our customers. And I know, Ms. Williams, you asked about what we can do to kind of focus on those routes, and looking at the next slide to kind of bring up the OTP on those routes. The Service and Development Department, our scheduling department is really diligently working towards that. They're working with the contractor now to look at different options that we can use for this next markup in December. They just kind of did some runtime modifications and things like that to some of those routes, but we're going to be looking for some new innovative ways that we could bring better performance to these routes going forward as we figure that out. So our total on-time performance for August 2023 was at 70.5%, and our goal was at 77%. And looking at September, the same thing is about 69.8 or 70% as our on-time performance. And of course, we've seen a small dip, starting in August as school started back up. So we're kind of looking at trends as well to look at those seasons around school, summer break, and different things like that. So that's our top 5 routes that we mentioned. The Route 1, which goes down Florida Avenue, the 6 is 56, the 34 Bush, the 400 Nebraska, and the 12 going down 22nd Street. Those 5 routes carry the majority of our ridership, and that's down at the bottom, 67%, 63, 70, 79, and 71 is our on-time performance. And this is the same showing the month of September for those same routes. If we look at our system, here is a 6-month trend for our fixed route. For our streetcar and paratransit, the top line, the orange line, is showing the streetcar at 99% on-time performance. It's showing paratransit at 92% on-time performance, and it's showing the bus, the blue line at the bottom, at 69.8% on-time performance. And then lastly, as we look at our efficiency as far as, if we're picking up our customers or not, we're completing at 99.4% of all of our scheduled trips, which leaves 0.60% of trips that we miss. So we are delivering an excellent service, and we're working to find ways to increase that on-time performance. But one thing for sure is that we're definitely picking our customers up, getting them to their destinations. And that is it. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Yes.
Director Knight, you recognized.
Thanks for the presentation. I just want to say, send the bus out there, and And some of these, even like the 6, say like the 10 highest number, there's a lot of construction and a lot of things going on. You know, when you're in your own vehicle, you have a choice to, you know, reroute or do different things. That's not the case with the bus system. But to have these numbers and be that, on time and everything, it's a very, just want to just to accommodate you, compliment for that. That's a great thing. And getting people on time, and that's why a lot of more people starting to ride it. Yeah, because you can get there, you don't have to worry about all the things, and, so I really appreciate it. And it's the buses.
Yeah, I think our service development department who's working with us to get through this, our bus operators who's driving those routes, and our supervisors and managers who's really handling the day-to-day, they're really doing a great job of delivering a exceptional service, and we're gonna only get better from here, so thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thanks. I always look at fixed route bus for my kind of guideway about how we do. So in terms of fixed route bus, and this is the September report, but how, I think I missed a sentence you said at the beginning. Did you say our ridership is altogether higher than ever? Did you say that or no?
Oh, that was the streetcar.
The streetcar, okay, got it. So how, do we have a idea? I'm just curious about how we are overall in the long run, especially with fixed bus route service. Are we kind of back to pre-COVID numbers, or that's always a question I have.
I know.
There was just an article in the Business Journal last week comparing our 2019 numbers, and I think we're about 7% shy of the pre-COVID total ridership. And most of that rebound, we bounced back better than most areas because of the gains on streetcar. But when you just look at bus, we're probably still
A little bit behind.
yeah, and we're only at 75% of our weekday service. So we're if you look at
75% of what we were before?
what we were operating then, yeah. So it's important to note that because
Yes,
if that
it's
service was
extremely
out there,
important.
we'd probably have surpassed it, but that's totally hypothetical
Okay.
at this point.
And can I, in terms of, I mean, I know our budgeting issues, so we won't be returning to the more robust service of the past?
At current funding levels, we do not have the funds to get back to those pre-COVID levels.
Okay.
We're trying to shuffle our existing resources to kind of get some frequency.
Right.
Get some hourly stuff back to 30, but that may come at the expense of some of our 15-minute routes going to 20. So that's the kind of thing we're weighing.
So we're doing much better with less.
Yep,
A lot less, actually.
yeah.
So that's interesting. I do know that, and news travels slowly sometimes, which is, I hear, oh, does anyone, take transit anymore because of COVID, And some places are different than other places depending, but I know here that we had, unlike the rest of the nation, we had, some of the highest COVID ridership in the country. And I think because we're so bare bones that we didn't suffer the tremendous losses, or there weren't those losses on our transit system. People kept taking our transit because they depended on it so much, and it was so important and significant in this community. And so it's interesting that it's down with 75% of pre-service, but near only 7% loss in ridership. So that's, I think, very interesting. I'm glad that you brought that out. My other question is just this: in terms of, and this might, in terms of on-time performance, I guess we set that 70%, I think, because that was set at 70% as a guide, because that's something like around the country, or as a metric.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
national average.
And so in terms of the individual, we can see some falling, like this one, 54%, but something like the some of the others, some of the routes, a few that I know pretty well and are down there. Is there any general thing about why we're not at 70%? Is it pretty idiosyncratic according to a route and the conditions on that route at that time? For instance, like, so why would you say the biggest barrier to the one getting, it's at 67%, but to getting to 70% or higher? And what are like the biggest barriers to the 36, which is at 54%? So I just want to have a sense of how that works.
Sure. So an example on Route 1 is before the Mission Max service went into effect, the middle of that route went into the Yukon Transfer Center and had a layover on it. And the on-time performance was really good, but if you were riding from the university area, it would take you 5 or 10 minutes longer than it does today. So we basically traded off the quality of the service with the on-time performance probably going down. So that's a very specific example. One of the things we're gonna look at is reducing the frequency to 20 minutes to help boost the on-time performance, because we have some issues maintaining the headways at 15 anyway, and that's a bit in the weeds. I'll try to stop there. But for the 36, for example, one of the issues there is in a previous markup, we started operating that route with 2 buses when it really needs 3. So that's something we built into the December markup, is adding that 3rd bus back into that route that is gonna boost that from the 50s, hopefully to the 70s, maybe 80s.
And where 36 does,
That's
where's?
Dale Mabry, so from
Okay.
Fletcher all the way to Britton Plaza in South Tampa.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, we're always in such a tight place with our lack of resources and our needs.
Yeah,
And the needs are, I mean, we have, people say, oh, there's not people riding the bus. I go, no, you're wrong. There's lots of people riding the bus. In fact, we need more, but we don't have the resources.
right, and unfortunately for the 36, that extra vehicle is actually coming off of the Route 19 that goes from Marion Transit Center to TGH to South Tampa. We're dropping that back down to hourly just to get the Route 36 to be a little more reliable for our customers. The ridership hasn't really panned out on that Route 19, but we feel like this is a better investment to make it just a better service overall.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Knight.
Yes, it was as adjusting what he was saying. Like some of the higher ridership routes, the possibility of maybe longer buses. When you go to other states, some of the ones like that instead of like another bus. But is there any plans like some of the a little bit longer, but not where you can?
Like an
it could be a
articulated,
problem.
there's 60-foot buses that you could purchase. We haven't spoken about that or have any plans to purchase that. I think right now, that's not in the plan right now. But I would say, one of the initiatives I have is the CAT AVL. So when we did the pilot, I believe on the Route 1, it increased our OTP by between 8 and 11%. So just technology alone, helping them operate, is gonna increase that OTP. And keep in mind, the more ridership you have on that route, the longer the dwell time. So it's, for the boarding and the lighting. So keep that in mind. So I just think that the CAT AVL initiative is really gonna help. And then if you notice on slide 9, when you look at the June and July OTP, you see 75, 76%. And that's because the traffic patterns are so different when school comes back into play.
Thank you. Were you going to add any additional comments from earlier?
No, that was it.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, thank you.
I would like to, excuse me, I would like to just add one comment. You talked about adjusting the frequency to improve the on-time performance. I think with the CAT AVL, we're going to be able to smooth some things out and come up with some faster times. Changing the frequency to fix the on-time performance almost sounds like we're trying to trick the system. And I want to make sure that we're not fooling ourselves and saying, well, we'll be there a little less often, but we'll be there more on time. It sounds like we're trying to trick ourselves.
Well,
And
actually,
without
that's not
casting
a,
any aspersions, I'm not trying to do that.
your take is appropriate, but what we're seeing out there is that we have issues keeping the headways at 15 minutes. So what the
Right.
customers are seeing on the street is more, during the busiest time of day, is more closer to 20 minutes because we're not on time. So it's actually kind of readjusting to the conditions that are out there.
The reality.
Because, exactly, it's more getting closer to reality to then provide more layover for our operators. And so that's part of the balance there. But instead of running eight buses on the Route 1 at 15 minutes during the weekday, if we drop it to 20, we may be able to save a bus and provide more reliability during those super busy times.
Okay.
And so those are the kind of trade-offs we make in the planning, at the planning and scheduling level, and that's how it affects the service on the street. And there's some more innovative stuff we're trying to contemplate with how we schedule operators and the vehicles, but that's part of the shuffle here. And with the CAT AVL, that's gonna alleviate some of those problems, but
I'd rather-
it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I would try the technology before we started monkeying with the other items. It just sounds like we're trying to trick the system. And I have one more
Yes.
point, to your point, Ms. Kemp. Good news travels slow, bad news travels faster than anything.
Yeah.
So it's an uncanny situation, but thank you, good presentations.
I was just going to add, prior to you coming in, Commissioner Kim, they talked about, the finance team talked about the $18 to $20 million to get back to pre-COVID ridership, not ridership, but scheduling. And when we talked, Mr. Drainville, during our pre-meeting, you talked about 15-minute increase cost. What amount? Can you talk about that? I thought that was interesting.
So I asked Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson and I had this conversation on, because what we want to do is educate the committee and the board on where we were pre-pandemic and what it's going to cost to take us to get to those levels. So so in the next committees, we're going to actually do a monthly presentation on some routes, but he can speak on the, what we're thinking about what it would cost today and a phased-in approach of that cost of getting back to pre-pandemic.
Sure, so the peak level of service we're at now, we measure it in a couple of ways, but the peak vehicle requirement to put our service on the street pre-COVID was 132 vehicles. Right now, we're at 101. And the number of service hours that made up our whole weekday service, pre-COVID was around 1,650 hours. Right now, we're at about 1,200 and change. And that's where we get the 75% number, is from those service hours. And right now, we're refining our cost per hour based on last year's actuals, but they're gonna land somewhere in the $130 to $142 per service hour. And then once we reset that, we'll really know kind of where we're at going into next year. It's kind of
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you. Mr. Goldberg?
Good morning, Nicholas Goldborn, Interim Director of Maintenance. I wanted to present to you our August and September metrics for the Maintenance Department. Our preventive maintenance program and safety program remains compliant with both FDOT and FDA standards. We completed 98 safety inspections in August and 95 in September. Both months we achieved 100% on-time percentage. Fixed route system reliability. For August, we did 9,839 miles, and for September, it was 8,442 miles. For the month of August, the top reported defects in our fleet were check engine lights, AC complaints, transmission, coolant leaks, and fare blocks. For September, the top reported defects were, again, engines, coolant leaks, transmissions, stop engines, and engine shutdown. Do you have any questions
Any
on
questions?
system reliability and fleet?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will now turn it over to Mr. Campbell for safety and metrics.
Good morning, Madam
morning.
Chair, Directors, Mr. Drainville. My name is Richard Campbell. I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I'll be presenting the August and September metrics for safety. In August, we had reported 2 injuries, 2 safety events, and 3 assaults. For the month of September, this is fixed route, so the bus. For the month of September, we had 3 injury reported, 2 safety events, and 1 assault reported. According to the PTASP, we have a self-imposed .5 baseline. This is our own self-imposed. And as you can see, for the month of August, we were at .37, and the month of September, we are at .57. So we had a slight uptick in September. Fixed route for safety events, .37 for August and .38 for September. Moving on to paratransit. In August, we had 1 injury reported. For the month of September, we had no events reported, as you can see. And for streetcar, we had 1 injury reported, 1 assault. And for the month of September, we had 1 injury reported. Ms. Williams, as you requested, we have compiled the last quarter preventable, non-preventable accidents. And so this is what I have. For the month of July, we had 9 preventable incident accidents, 4 preventable accidents, and 15 non-preventable accidents. For the month of August, we had 5 preventable incidental accidents, 10 preventable accidents, and 26 non-preventable accidents. And for the month of September, we had 8 preventable incidentals, 4 preventable, 24 non-preventable, and we have 8 pending. The 8 pending is, obviously, we have an accident the month that, ends on a Saturday, and then we have a couple weeks to complete that investigation.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Director Knight?
Yes, great presentation. I'd like to know, like the injuries, what type of injuries? Yeah, are they pretty consistent, or is it?
So sometimes, sometimes it could be something from, we get, buses at a stop, we get rear-ended, and somebody on the bus, claims injury. So, that's something that down the road, determine, when they go to the doctor and how that, but at the moment, they claim injury, we report it as injury.
Thank you.
Any other questions? In regards to the assaults, are they, the assault is on the bus driver, or is there some other situation that happened?
Yeah, so I have that information compiled, but just to give you just a high level. We had an operator assaulted, a male patron, punched an operator at an operator. We had another female throw a liquid at an operator. We have, various operator, one incident, a customer was denied a boarding because they had an open container of alcohol. So they were, it's illegal to do that. And the operator punched the glass on the door and damaged it. So those are, a lot of times they're more often than not, they're verbal, but it's still assault.
Thank you. It's unfortunate, but I just want to get more insight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation. Okay. We have another presentation today on Dash Service. Karen Cross from the Tampa Downtown Partnership. You are recognized to start your presentation. Thank you for being here. Thanks for pulling that up. Of course.
Hello, Karen Kress, Tampa Downtown Partnership. Thanks for having me. This is an informational presentation for you, just so you're kind of aware of a micro-transit service that we started in downtown last Thursday. So just a quick run-through history, and I recognize all of your faces, so you probably remember all of this, but we've always worked with HART very closely on kind of all of these efforts, but we've had free service in our downtown along the Marion Transit Parkway. We've had several iterations of the in-towner, in-town trolley, et cetera. We had Coast Bike Share introduced. Now we have added, other scooters and e-bikes to that program. Obviously, the success story of the streetcar. And then we introduced the Downtowner service back in 2016. HART was a small funding partner in that for 1 or 2 of the years. It was a point-to-point on-demand service, 7 days a week. You can see a couple of the heat maps there that shows you where the demand was. These are some of the stats for the 5 years that we ran that program. That program basically ended during COVID. But pretty much everywhere we went, everyone said, when are you bringing back the downtowner? It took us a couple years to get that figured out. And on Thursday, we relaunched a different service, but we think will meet the same needs. We're calling that DASH, which stands for Downtown Area Shared Hubs. So the Tampa Downtown Partnership has legally defined boundaries that we call our Special Services District. So this service is limited to those boundaries. It's a hub-to-hub model. So basically, we have about 20 locations in our downtown that are virtual bus stops. This is an app-based ride solicitation. So when you say where you are and where you're going, the app will then direct you to walk to the closest hub to where you are, and then again, drop you at the closest hub to your destination. The rides will be shared, so we can have up to 4 passengers with the driver, so that would be 5 total. We have tried to integrate with other transit. A couple examples of that is if the trip could be delivered via streetcar service, the app will tell you to take the streetcar. And then since we're charging $2, which was aligned with what the bus fare is, we wanted to make sure that anyone coming to or from Marion Transit Center wouldn't have to then pay again. So it's a free transfer from Marion Transit Center as well. We're operating 7 days a week, from 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday, and then on Sundays we have a reduced service of 12 to 9. Again, $2 per person. And we're using an all-electric fleet, using bright yellow Teslas, safety yellow, I like to call them. And the beauty of this service is that we're able to fund this completely in-house at the Tampa Downtown Partnership. The way we're able to do that is we're taking the transportation budget that we've always put toward service in the past, but we're marrying that with our Downtown Guides program. So basically, we're evolving our Downtown Guides. We're still going to have foot patrol out there. We're still going to have our clean team out there, but this is giving us an opportunity to have lots more eyes and ears on the street. Obviously, it's a very intimate experience in the car, so our drivers will be well-versed on downtown customer service, et cetera. The drivers were all trained, a pretty extensive training package, including HART was generous enough to have our drivers come over for a couple hours and kind of put them through a mini version of bus driver safety training. So we hope to continue that evolution with HART on this microtransit service. We think there's an opportunity to go further and further into kind of a transit partnership. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, we just launched on Thursday, so we have lots of lessons to learn yet.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions?
Thank you.
I just want to call out that Mr. Dreamville purposely set out to partner with others and bring people here to give us information, insight, and this is something we probably wouldn't have heard about until after the fact. So we appreciate you sharing that with us, and I appreciate the partnership that you're forming across all entities, transportation entities.
Thanks. He's been a great partner so far, so good job hiring him.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Okay. Let's see here. Committee action items. Next is Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer, who will present the committee action item and a few slides on the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, PTASP.
Good morning. So yes, I'm asking the board to approve, I'll run through this. The PTASP is federally mandated by the FTA. So any agency that receives federal funds has to have a PTASP. So CFR 49 parts 673 and 674 mandate it. And we also have our directive from our state safety oversight. So the FDOT requires it as well. The intent of the PTASP is to have the whole company collaborate. So all the departments, all the way from leadership, all the way across labor, unions, supervision, everybody to kind of understand the importance of safety in an organization. So this also mandates that we use the SMS, which is the Safety Management System directed by by FTA. So what SMS is a grassroots, top-down approach to safety, okay? By December 1st, the agency is supposed to review our PTASP, which my department has, and we have submitted to FDOT for the conditional approval. Every year we have to do this by December 1st, and I've already sent it off to FDOT and have received that. So now I'm presenting it to the committee. Every year, as things change in the agency, new service, new transit centers, any type of those issues, the safety department is supposed to review it. So we collaboratively meet with my group. We look over all the new changes, any changes. We update that, and then we notify FDOT. FDOT gives us that conditional approval, and then we present it. Once that's done, it's obviously presented to the CEO, so Mr. Drainville is aware, signs off on it, and then we present it and we implement it. And this is an annual thing that we have to do every year. It's self-imposed, so the state doesn't require a date, so we have to set the date. So we have set December 1st as our date, so we're a little ahead, which is good. If there's any hang-up in, FDOT or anything like that, so we have time, and this is why we're presenting it now. Questions?
Are there any questions? Okay. This is a committee action item. So for the committee review and consideration is the action item to recommend the HART Board of Directors approve the HART Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan and authorize the submittal of its certification to the Florida Department of Transportation.
Second.
Thank you. We have to do a roll call?
You can do it as a voice vote.
Okay, all right. All in agreement? Aye.
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 Nay? Thank you. Motion approves and moves
you.
forward. Thank you.
And I'll just say, just so everybody understands, during COVID, because we had hybrid, that's why we took those all as roll call. There's nothing that obligates you to take them as roll call votes unless it's necessary for a specific item because it has something over and above that. But as a general matter, you don't have to do it as the roll call anymore. We're done with that.
Thank you. Okay, the number 6 is the information item. In your packets under tab 6, please find the informational update on the heavy maintenance facility project status. HART project manager is available to answer any questions the committee members may have. And this is really in response to the questions that have come up regarding the heavy maintenance building and Mr. Drainville, sorry about that. Mr. Drainville is proactively making efforts to include this information in the updates so that we are up to date and can speak to anything that comes up. So I just want to thank you for that call out as well. Are there any questions on the heavy maintenance building? Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Yes, this is appreciated. And I've thought for a long time we kind of lost focus on this one. It's so central and important, but we always have, we've just had so many issues. But I do think, I've been through so many presentations, but I think having, not when we have a very busy agenda coming up, but I do think it would be at some point a good time to just kind of refresh the memory in a bigger way than this to the, at the meeting. I don't know how frequently that should be, maybe every 6 months or something like that, just so we have a sense of where we are with that.
And I agree, so I believe that if next committee meeting, we're going to have, because C.D. Smith did put a proposal together.
Okay.
I'm actually going to Tallahassee tomorrow to meet with legislators to talk about the project. But next committee, we can have a presentation on exactly where we are and what our expectations are, so.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
Director Knight, did you have questions?
Yeah, look good, I'm just waiting.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to old business. Any old business? I'd like to make a comment about all of the presentations, the level of preparation, the immediate follow-up. It's just been phenomenal, and I want to call out and recognize the work that's been done by the staff. And those that are working behind the scenes that are participating to these efforts, it really is showing that level of commitment and has elevated significantly. And so I thank you and the team for everything you've done to make sure that we're prepared and have the information for this meeting. I think it's worth the call out based on the continuous responsiveness and action that's being taken. Thanks. Director Knight?
Yes, and I also like to touch on like what you're saying and the appreciation of staff and the executive team, everybody, you know, working together. And I was stopped in the streets a few times with some of the co-worker of the team, and they was saying that when we went for the day over at the center with the chair, we got to get back with him because they want us to come back, and we can get more of the directors to come, you know, along with you, maybe coordinated, and because a lot of them was off, and they like to see us come through, and we enjoyed just interacting with the different ones, learning the different areas and stuff like that, getting to meet. It was a great opportunity, and I look forward to doing it again. So, yeah, thanks for all the effort and all the things, and everything's so calm, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, new business? Is there any new business? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.